Yes, Ethel?
There's an Inspector Hodgson in the hall, ma'am. He wants to see Mr. Aysgarth.
Show him in, Ethel.
Very good, ma'am. Will you come this way, please, sir?
Thank you. Mrs. Aysgarth?
Yes.
My name's Hodgson, Inspector Hodgson from the county police.
How do you do?
I understand your husband's not in, ma'am.
No, he's been up in London for 2 days.
Well, perhaps you might be able to help us.
Yes, of course.
I believe you know a Mr. Thwaite.
Yes, he's a close friend of my husband.
Well, I don't know how to put it quite. Perhaps it would be easier if I showed you this in this afternoon's paper. Right here, ma'am.
Englishman found dead. An Englishman met with a mysterious death in a house in Paris. He's believed to be Mr. Gordon Cochran Thwaite of... Vicky.
I'm sorry to have to do this, ma'am, but we're making inquiries for the Paris police. They found some papers on Mr. Thwaite's person which indicate he just formed a corporation with your husband.
What did the French police think caused the death?
Well, this is a copy of a telegram that we received from Paris. Thwaite visited the place in the company of another Englishman. On arrival, Thwaite ordered a bottle of brandy.
Brandy?
According to one of the waiters, Thwaite's companion asked for the brandy to be served in large beakers. Apparently, as a result of a bet between the two men, Thwaite filled one of these beakers to the brim and drank it all. The other man was not present when the actual tragedy happened. I'm sorry, ma'am, but do you or your husband happen to know of any friend of Mr. Thwaite's who might have been there with him?
No.
Well, then perhaps you could enlighten us about this corporation.
Yes, I believe I can. My husband had planned a real estate development with him. Mr. Thwaite had gone to Paris to dissolve the corporation.
Thank you, ma'am. That's all. Good day.
Good day.
He didn't go to Paris. He's in London. Johnny's in London. He's at the club. He's got to be at the club. He didn't go to Paris. He didn't.
Hello? Hogarth Club? May I speak to Mr. Aysgarth, please? He left? Left when? Yesterday morning. No. No, it doesn't matter. Thank you.
Lena's mind, the sharp sting of suspicion has given way to the dull, sickening ache of certainty. Certainty that her husband is a murderer. Returning to the house, he stands framed in the doorway, looking at her. She turns toward him with fear in her eyes.
You've read about Beaky, have you? I was terribly fond of Beaky.
Were you?
Yes, I loved that silly, generous, good-hearted fool.
Did you?
Of course I did. Next to you, I loved him more than anybody in the world.
Next to me.
Oh, poor monkey face. Here I am thinking only of myself, forgetting about you. You liked him too, didn't you?
I liked him very much. The police were here.
Oh, what did they want?
They wanted you to help them. They had a telegram from Paris. And it seems there was an Englishman who made a bet.
Oh, yes, I know. The whole story was in the late edition. What else?
The inspector wants you to phone him. He thought perhaps you could help identify this Englishman.
What did you tell them? Did you mention the corporation?
Naturally. I told him Vicky was planning to dissolve it.
I wish you'd left all that to me. Hello? Wichita Police Station, please. What else did you tell them?
That's about all.
Hello? Hello, Inspector. This is John Aysgarth. Yes. Well, I drove up to London with him Tuesday evening. Yes, I saw him off at Croydon Airport. No, I stayed in London until this afternoon at my club.
Lena, how nice to see you. Sit down there.
Isabel, you know, I couldn't put my light out until 3 this morning. I was so interested in your last book, I had to come over and talk to you about it.
That's the nicest compliment I ever got.
I was completely fascinated by the way your villain enticed his victim across the footbridge, knowing that the bridge had been sawn through.
And he also knew his victim couldn't swim. Don't forget that.
Well, what I want to know is this. Would you call that an actual murder?
Well, from a moral standpoint, there's no question at all. It is murder.
I suppose it is.
What does Johnny think?
Johnny? Oh, I haven't discussed it with him.
Well, I think he'd be interested. The same situation with his friend of his in Paris.
The same?
Well, that brandy business is just like my footbridge. By the way, this brandy thing isn't new at all, you know.
It's been done before.
Oh, yes, and in real life, too. I have it here. A book called The Trial of Richard Palmer. Now, where is that book? The Trial of... Oh, I remember where it is. It's in your house.
My house?
Yes. Johnny borrowed it a week ago.
Lena, how nice to see you. Sit down there.
Sit down there.
Isabel, you know, I couldn't put my light out until 3 this morning. I was so interested in your last book, I had to come over and talk to you about it.
What else did you tell them?
I told him Vicky was planning to dissolve it. Hello?
Hello? May I speak to Mr. Aysgarth, please?
He isn't in. This is Mrs. Aysgarth speaking.
Oh, well, this is the Guarantors Life Insurance Company.
Yes?
Would you tell Mr. Aysgarth that there's been a slight delay in replying to his inquiry? That we've written him fully and he should get our letter in the morning.
Dear Sir, replying to your inquiry regarding a loan of fire policy, we regret that such a loan cannot be granted. According to the terms of the policy, payment can only be made in the event of your wife's death. If you...
Morning, dear. Any letters for me? What's the matter?
Nothing.
Darling, you're not shivering, are you?
Oh, I've a bit of a chill.
Cold in all this sunshine? Oh, my poor little shivering baby. How do you feel now? Better?
Much.
Good. What are we doing tonight?
We're going to Isabel's to dine.
Oh, what a bore. Well, let's get back to that new book of yours, Isabel. You mean to tell me that a fellow sits down at a piano, starts to strum, and in 2 seconds later he's shot? Is that the idea?
Yes. A certain note on the piano was wired to a revolver concealed in the wall.
Oh, I don't care much for that, Isabel. You're slipping, old girl.
What's wrong with it?
Too complicated. You're going to kill somebody? Do it simply.
How would you do it? Simply, Johnny?
Oh, I don't know, dear. Just use the most obvious method.
For instance?
Well, poison. Just use the first one that came to my mind. Say, arsenic.
Arsenic can be traced in the body, of course.
But it isn't always.
No. This very minute, there are probably hundreds of murders walking about.
Johnny, do you suppose those murderers are happy?
Oh, I don't know. Why shouldn't they be? Well, anyway, Isabel, it seems to me that by now somebody would have discovered a poison that can't be traced.
What's that?
What about it? Isn't there?
An untraceable poison? Nonsense. There's no such thing.
Oh, Isabel, you are hiding something from me.
Johnny, you're locking up. What about Ethel?
Well, it's Ethel tonight off. She won't be back till morning.
What about Cook?
Have you forgotten? Cook's away on a holiday.
Oh.
Darling, you're shivering again. You suppose you're catching cold?
Yes, I think that's what it must be.
Oh, well, we'll have to tuck you into bed. Get you nice and warm. Come on.
No, Johnny, please. Please don't.
What's the trouble?
Johnny, I'm in a state tonight. I don't know why, but I'd like to be alone. Would you mind sleeping in your dressing room?
Of course I'd mind.
Please, Johnny, I haven't been sleeping very well lately.
Oh, I understand. You used to sleep badly when I wasn't here. Now you... All right, that's the way you feel about it. Good night.
Poison. Arsenic. Poison. Untraceable